Okay, braiding soap. So I'm doing a class in the near future on braiding and knot tying, so I was making some soap to treat the laces with for the class. I'm starting off, I'm doing kind of a double batch, so normally you'd want about 1.5 cups of water. I'm using 3. That's very approximate. I mean, you have to have enough water to be able to dissolve the soap. I have some dust in my pot. It'd be fine. The other ingredients I've got some ivory soap. Ivory soap works really well for this. It doesn't have any extra perfumes or anything like that in it. It's just white soap. A lot of different soaps could probably work just fine. Just don't want anything with color that could mess up your color of your leather. And I ran it through a cheese grater to make smaller pieces that'll dissolve quicker. So we're going to let this water and soap kind of come up to temperature, dissolve the soap, and then we're going to mix in tallow. Okay, soap is mostly dissolved now. So now, since there's soap mixed with the water, the fat will be able to mix with the water. It works as an emulsifier. It's one thing that soap's good for. So, generally the idea is you want 1.5 cups of water to every bar of ivory soap, which is about 4 ounces or so of soap. I'd have to look, 3 or 4 ounces. Anyway, I've graded up 2 bars of soap, and I've got 3 cups of water. This is a double batch, basically. And then you want about 1 pound of fat for the original recipe. So we're going to go with about 2 pounds of tallow for our fat. You can use lard. You can use a lot of other things as your fat. I've used olive oil. I've heard of people using coconut oil. But because I keep unusual craft supplies around my house, tallow is one of them. We're going to throw that in there and make ourselves some tallow-based braiding soap. Now again, that's going to have to melt in there. And it should be pretty quick because tallow melts just above body temperature, basically. Well, just above room temperature. Actually, it can kind of melt in your hand. Alright, the tallow's melted. You can see it's all pretty much combined together. No separation of oil and water. That's what the soap's doing. But I did misjudge how much space this was going to take in this pot. So I'm going to have to make a mess and pour some of it into another container for the next step, which is to take a blender and whip it up. So let's see if we can do this without causing too much carnage. There's one little chunk of soap still in there. Not bad at all. Alright, now I've got a hand blender that I use for making soap. I don't use it for food, and I can use it for stuff like this too. And the idea is basically to whip some air in it as it cools and as it sets. It's going to take a little while because, like I said, it's got to kind of cool off a bit. But as it's doing that, I'll occasionally come back and whip it up a little bit more. As you can see, it's already made it more of a white color from the cream color that it was in the pot. Okay, as this settles in and starts to thicken, you can see it's getting pretty thick there. Stuff in the glass has not yet. But we're going to go ahead and whip it up one more time. This is why I transferred about half of it out of the pot, because I didn't want to make a mess. And I'll go ahead and transfer this to some containers and let it cool the rest of the way. It makes a kind of a nice thick cream this way. Easy to apply to the leather. Okay, and as this is set, you can see it becomes mostly solid, but it's sort of a whipped butter sort of feel to it. And it can be applied to leather lace. I usually just use my hands on it. Paper towel to wipe off some excess. And it's just going to soak into the lace, condition it, and prepare it for being braided or used in knots. And it helps the leather really pull down tight and set to itself and set into the other piece of the leather when you go to roll it. So, just an interesting sort of homemade conditioner for leather lace for those who are interested in braiding and tying knots.